Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture with the rogues who create it every Wednesday night. And tonight, what else is there to talk about, right? I think it just crossed the billion hour mark, I believe. Let me get the exact quote. Yeah, Stranger Things season 4 hits the billion hours in viewership. It is the only US created show to have done that on Netflix. So congratulations. But yeah, we are reacting to. So if you haven't seen it yet, Aaron, our producer, naughty, should have should have finished it.
Oh, who are you to talk, dude?
Well, I
Come
actually
on,
finished
man.
it.
Your track record. All right, yeah, but I mean, you gotta give some.
I'll say this: there's been many a time where it has been a struggle to finish stuff, and so if I don't in time when we talk about it and it gets spoiled for me, like I just say whatever, it's fine. There are some shows though where it's like, no, I need to finish them because I don't want to get them spoiled. And so and I think Stranger Things is up there. So I definitely, I can proudly plant my flag for tonight's show, and that I got through it. Now, that being said, I definitely thought it was way too long, those last 2 episodes, like unnecessarily long. You could have. It was like Batman Begin. Sorry, it was like The Batman long. Like that last episode was 2.5 hours. Easily could have been 2 hours. Easily, you could have shaved off. In fact, I did shave off, I think, in a good half hour of just them walking to the destination. Like they were like, there's like scenes where like they're in the house, or Nancy's in the house, whatever, and she's walking to the next part of the room. I just went, whoop, 10 seconds. Whoop, 10 seconds. Whoop, okay, she's there. It's like a little unnecessarily long. That being said, yeah, no, that's it actually. I think it was just very long. What were your initial reactions to it? I know you were pretty high on these.
Do you mean the show overall, the season overall, or just the second
Yeah.
part? Or we're
Well,
just
I think you
talking
kind of have to,
specifically
right?
the
I mean,
second
it's
part?
really I don't know, it's a good question. How do you want to break it down? Or how do you think we should break it down? Because to me, I think it's just one season, right? Just do the whole season because even though it's split up into 2 parts, that is essentially a marketing tactic from Netflix. It has
Well,
nothing to,
yeah, that and also that they hadn't finished the last 2 episodes. By the time the first they had, according to what I've read,
okay.
they've they finished some of the CGI the day before the second part debuted. So they were
Okay.
working all the way up to all the way down to the wire. So
Wow.
yeah. So that
Now,
was that, according to the Duffer Brothers, that was an act of necessity by splitting
wow.
them up. Because COVID just ruined everything for
Yeah.
everybody. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could have just postponed it too. I mean, until they were ready. So, but I like it. I applaud the gutsiness on their part to come out with it.
mhm.
Um, for anybody who doesn't, who again, spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, part 2 where we left part 1, we just learned who Vecna was. I thought that was really well done. They tied that, together nicely in the first part where, you're very good at this, I think, or at least you claim to be. I can't, obviously, I'm not in a room with you when you're watching these things, but so I choose to believe you because I think you're an honest person. You're very good at usually like picking out like, oh, I knew that guy was the bad guy the whole time. And I didn't I thought they did a nice job of disguising the Henry, Vecna connection, one connection throughout the first, part of the season, to where when it was revealed at the, right before the season ended, I was like, oh, okay. I knew he was connected to something in some way, right? He wasn't just an orderly that's going to help 11. There was something more to him, but I didn't think he was the big bad. When all was, I was pleasantly surprised. Now, were you pleasantly surprised, or did you peg that like the first episode or second?
I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't think he was an orderly though. That's
Right.
so whatever my intuitions are, it was like this guy's not an orderly. I don't know, but I thought he made it been in her head,
Mm,
or just like an imaginary friend or something like that.
sure.
And then as things went on, it starts to become clear. It's like wait, especially like okay, there's 2 ways to look at it. There's there's television language, so there's like sequential visual language for for sequential storytelling or celluloid. And then there's Stranger Things language, right? Any new character they introduce is doomed. They're either bad,
Did we talk about it on air or we talked about it off air? I think we talked about it off air that right before, it was last week before Stranger Things 4, the conclusion was going to air. We were saying it's like they never kill the main characters. They always none of the main characters ever end up getting killed. It's always they bring a character in just to kill them off. They do a nice job of doing that. They do a job like Sean Astin in the second season. You're like, I like this guy. Oh, he's dead now. Oh, that sucks. They do a nice job of bringing these characters in, making them, likable in some way, shape, or form. Even Max's brother, who in season 3, who passed away. I mean, by the end there was.
I would say season 3 was Alexei, was the Russian guy they kidnapped.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, that guy too. Yeah, we liked him too. Yeah,
because I didn't care about Billy. I was glad Billy died. I didn't like Billy.
But you know what? You when he died, you felt it. You know what I mean? It wasn't. No, you didn't feel it.
Felt a thing. No,
you didn't feel a thing for him. No. I felt bad for Max. I thought that was.
I felt bad. That's bad for Max, and of course that has residuals that
Correct.
Rippled all the way into season 4. But you can get rid of Billy. I didn't care about Billy. I don't. It's just the same thing as I didn't care about Matthew Modine. I didn't.
Well, yeah, you wanted Matthew Modine to go though, finally. So that was what happened.
I wanted Billy to go. That's kind of how I parsed it. Like
But that's I guess my point. They do a great job of bringing these characters in, so that when they do die, there is an impact, even if it's good. I'm glad he's gone. There, it's not indifference. There's definitely some shows where people die, and you're like, oh, all right, I guess that guy's dead now.
Yeah.
And you're like, whatever. When a death does happen, it is generally, well set up and well executed to the point where you feel the necessary emotions that they're trying to get you to feel.
I fully agree. I totally
now, in this particular case, Aaron, cover your ears. You can cover your ears. Okay, you could show videos if you want. You could show clips if you want. But no, we don't actually. I didn't even put the
don't
clips
show
on,
clips. So. That'll make it worse for her.
That will make it worse. Yeah. Yeah. The death in question was Eddie Munson, and I got to tell you, I laughed hysterically when he died because it was exactly our conversation we were having last week. It was like, basically, I think we pegged it. We're like, if it's going to be an expected death, then it's got to be Eddie. I think we both said that last week because he's he's this season's whatever. And and it happened. And I remember reading Friday morning, I get my news feed of different pop culture articles, so we can cull through for the show. And it said like, unexpected character deaths. It said multiple deaths.
4.
Let me get the exact.
There are 4 confirmed deaths. I've read articles where it said 4 confirmed deaths or 5 confirmed deaths. So the articles couldn't even decide exactly what the Duffer Brothers confirmed.
Yeah.
In their teasings.
Yeah, I don't have the article up with me, but yeah, it was essentially.
Come prepared.
Surprise deaths. And I thought to myself, if there is a surprise death, it would be one of the main characters, because it's never one of the main characters. It's always this like.
It's always it's always a mislead or a misdirect to say there's a surprise death or that it's always that way. Because they want you to probe the entire show.
Right.
In anticipation of, and then usually no.
Right.
Not really. I have a different perspective on this, apparently, because I don't watch shows. Like, I don't think the integrity of show, and this is not what you said. So I don't think the integrity of shows lies on whether or not we know the characters are going to live or die.
Yes. A
lot of people are like, it's worthless watching. It's like Obi-Wan. It's worthless watching this because nothing can happen to him. It's like, well, that's not the whole reason I'd be watching, right. Like 90% of the time they wouldn't have killed Obi-Wan in Obi-Wan's show anyway. So that's kind of a non-starter,
They kind of need him for the next, they kind of need him for that other movie.
They need him for all
you've already
episodes. Seen. Not only that, say like this all took place whenever. If you name the show like Mando, they're not going to kill Din Djarin in his own show. So the idea of like, well, I'm not worried about this because I know he's supposed to be in A New Hope, so I know he survives. So this makes this whole thing stupid. the person who the show is named after is always going to survive for the most part until the last episode.
Right.
All right. So, or there's no show, or the show's over. And then let me just reiterate, if they do kill him in the middle of season 3, that's the last episode. All right. So it's the complaints have been kind of crazy about, like, well, they don't kill enough for the main characters. Again, not something you said, but just these things I've heard. They don't kill enough of the main characters, so the show sucks. Or I know all the characters have plot armor, so the show sucks. Like, look, killing it's all fantasy. We know this. We know there's no upside down that we know of, right? There's no rip in the fabric of time and space or whatever. So if you can suspend your disbelief on that, just get into the story and enjoy it, or not enjoy it, or hate it, one or the other. But stop throwing monkey wrenches into your own immersions by giving yourself these ridiculous parameters for whether or not you want to enjoy something in the first place. I think that's kind of stupid. I think saying that any character that has plot armor is stupid.
So I found the article, by the way, from Heroic Hollywood. Stranger Things 4 Volume 2 finale sees some surprising character deaths. Not everyone makes it out alive. They labeled Dr. Martin Brenner as one of them. That's Matthew Modine's character, and I do think he's dead. But did he actually die?
Yeah, he died well enough. He died well enough, so let's just say if they brought him back again, it'd be a groan.
Yeah,
it'd be an eye roll. All
right.
Come on,
because but again, we didn't get the scene where he breathes his last breath.
Those are, thank God, because some of those are done so badly.
Yes.
There's that it actually just kind of takes you right out of it.
Yeah.
It just breaks the show. It's like, it's like, stop it.
This one also labeled Vecna as this article says Vecna is the fourth. Vecna himself met his end, and I don't think he met his end at all. In fact,
no. That's why you don't read those articles.
Yeah, see, that's not
those articles. Don't know what to. How is there going to be a 5th season if Vecna's dead?
Yeah.
So
I agree. So this is clearly he's clearly not dead.
Yeah, I don't know. What article are you reading? Who's
this is from Heroic Hollywood?
Huh?
Heroic Hollywood. They're not a very well reputed.
It's a rag. You're reading a rag.
I am. They do a nice job of summarizing things for me, though, and I like that because I like the
because you don't really watch the shows, so they help you out. They help. They're your cliff notes. They're cheat sheets.
That's what I want. Look, anything to Scrooge McDuck, work smarter, not harder. Eddie Munson. Now, let's talk about his death.
Whether it's smarter though.
Let's talk about his death. All right.
All right.
This to me was the only. I laughed when he died because it's prototypical of what they've done in terms of bringing a character in, make you like him, and then they kill him.
Ooh,
what's that?
Where'd you whip that word out from?
Prototypical.
Prototypical.
You like it?
Oh, I like it coming from you. I know what the word means, but it's like
right.
not you don't usually dabble into $50 words. That's all. I'm just saying.
It's July 4th week. Man.
I know you're capable of them. I've heard you speak, off air, but I'm just saying on the show, you don't dabble in the $50 words.
That's true.
You save the money. You save them. You put more money. You put different money on the screen.
Well, that's called setting it up for when you really want to deliver. See, if I did it all the time, then it wouldn't be a big deal. And,
of course.
I would sit there and say his death was a typical horror movie death where I'm sitting there saying, why is he doing this? Like, his choice in the actual, to quote unquote stand up and fight. First of all, is a life lesson for all you kids out there. What happens on TV is not real, and don't do what is on TV. Because yes, I've actually done things in my life where I'm sitting there saying, I've been impacted, and I'm talking about like childhood or whatever, where I'm impacted by what I've watched. And you're in a situation where you've seen a character go through a situation. I can't give you specifics. I just know it. I just know this has happened to me in my life where I'm like, oh, this is the moment where I fight back, or this is the moment where I do something or take a stand. And it never ends up good. It never ends up working out, but that storybook movie, that's why these are called stories, right? But what he ended up doing though.
So wait. So you're saying that the Rogue Wave's position on this is what's not real is not real.
Don't imitate it. Don't imitate what you see on TV.
Don't do things that are not real,
right?
Because they're not real.
Right.
That's the Michael Dolce philosophy.
Right. There's also like, you know what? I'll give a romantic example. I think there's definitely been times in my like childhood when I grew up and teenage years and whatever, where I'm just like, I do what like the typical like romantic comedy character would do, and it just doesn't work. Like it never works.
You were the guy outside with the radio.
Yeah, right? Not that bad, but definitely, definitely you're like, this is the time. Don't let it slip through your fingers. Make a move. And then you make a move and they're like, oh, that was really nice of you. I'll see you later. And you're like, oh yeah, that didn't work out the way it's supposed to on TV.
That stuff.
She's supposed to look at me and go, I feel that too.
There's an unwritten understanding or rule in geekdom that we are geeks because we know that these other things are not real. We dabble in superhero dumb because of the non-realness of it. If you could actually go out in the world and be Superman or whatever rom-com fantasy or whatever,
I just wanted to get a date,
Yeah, but I mean, you can't use those things as a template, man. That ain't gonna
no,
work.
I know, but
most of the people who wrote those things are people who didn't get dates.
Exactly right. This is their like wish fulfillment.
So
I know.
Don't follow those.
I know.
Don't follow that guy,
no,
please.
Luckily, I learned that lesson in college, or even before then, and
college.
Right, probably college. Well, no, in high school I was too scared to even do anything, so that there's a big difference. So
okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So, but anyway, getting back to Eddie Munson, Dustin at least tries to make up for it in my mind when he talks to Eddie's uncle at the end. He's like, he was fighting for this town, and I thought, all right, maybe that's his decision, but. He could have easily escaped. They could have just patched the hole up or done something to make sure those bats didn't come into the town. Or
no, they were trying to keep the bats off of Steve and the others so that they could kill Vecna. That was the distraction.
No, I get that too, but
so the theory was
really doesn't make sense.
If we run away, the bats are just going to circle back, and they won't be able to kill Vecna. So we gotta go back and keep distracting these bats. It's not that
makes it a little better.
It's not that it works because it doesn't really work, but it's the gesture. It's the realization that if we run away, we won't be holding up our end of the bargain here. So, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. It's how you feel about it is how you feel about it. I'm just saying that was the point.
Okay,
that's what he would.
Did you think that was pulled off in a way that because to me that it took me out. It was one of those like horror movie cliche kind of things where you're like, character, no, you'll make it out if you just do the smart thing. Just do the smart thing. No, why are you all of a sudden doing the dumb thing? Of course you're gonna die now. That's the way it felt to me.
The reason I don't do these things well is because I have two different heads when. So I'm pretty sure while watching it, I'm like, "Why? What the hell, dude? Save yourself." Right. But I think overall, then you start to go into business mode. Like, well, that was well executed. I believe that was. That's the kind of gross aspect of this whole thing of like becoming an analyst. After you've enjoyed something, and start to analyze whether or not it was pulled off correctly or not. So like the fact that I thought his death had impact, and then I understood the circumstances behind it, allowed me to decide that it was worthwhile. Whereas I'm sure emotionally I was like, oh come on, don't stop killing these characters off. So
it would have been a more heroic death if, like, let's say Dustin was in peril, like obvious peril. Like that's the one. That's what I'm saying. There was like you could have pulled that off to a point where. Oh my God! Well, he had to. It was either him or Dustin.
But his story arc is that the statement about the girl who died, that he brought back to his house and watched her die. Yeah. Is that he just ran away after that.
Right.
Like if he had stood there and if he had tried to do something about it, he would have been able to. He might that was what was haunting him.
Yes.
So if they do a callback to if we run away, if I can make a clean getaway.
Mm-hmm.
And be safe, aren't I doing the exact same thing that I did before? So now he goes back in. I think.
Oh, no, I get the logic of it. I get the logic. I'm saying
I think if Dustin was in trouble and he thought about running away, that would have undone all of the work that he had done to endear the character to you in the first place. Because it's like, of
No.
course you help your friend.
Well,
You know?
again, we're talking
So
about hypotheticals, obviously. So it's possible, yes, but it's also possible that again, if they'd have done it in a way
I
to
mean, I
where,
don't have a problem with how they did it. So I mean,
yeah,
either way, you know.
yeah. To
But
me,
I get what you're saying.
it just made me scream at the TV.
Well, I mean, you're supposed to though, aren't
One
you?
death that didn't bother me at all was Jason Carver's death. I actually thought that was pretty cool. So he was the he was the leading the charge against Eddie, accusing him of satanic cult.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do pity him though, by the way, because in a way, the way everything was presented to him, he obviously went off the deep end. So I don't pity him in that sense. Getting guns and preparing to actually murder people and things like that. Is obviously that at that point, I do lose the pity, but I do feel for him because he wasn't, at least early on, he wasn't really portrayed as an a-hole. And he had just, his girlfriend who he loved and just didn't know very well, ended up dying, getting murdered horribly. So I kind of sit there going like, all right, that's Bruce Wayne's backstory, like someone he loves got murdered right in front of him, in a horrible fashion. And, so in a way I'm sitting there going like,
backstory.
What's that?
It's almost like every superhero's backstory.
Right. So I mean, if you're going to condemn him, he didn't seem to be, and I'll back that up with, he wasn't upset that Lucas took the shot. He wanted to take the shot, but it didn't work out. And it wasn't like he pulled him aside afterwards, like, hey, that was my shot. He was celebrating with him. So, and to me, I feel like, okay, probably wasn't a bad guy. Didn't handle the circumstances correctly, but obviously was shaken by it. But that being said, toward the end, I thought it was just a cool way to die, where the rift opens up and just like burns him in two. I'm like, all right, I like that. That was kind of like, at that point, he was too far gone.
That to me came off as a little bit of Revenge of the Director kind of situation, because it's like, and now he's gonna get his butt kicked. He's gonna be the foil that cost a beloved character their life, right? Theoretically, then he's gonna get his butt kicked in front of everybody, and then we're gonna rip him in half.
Yeah,
as a director aside, like, and then when he's down, I'm gonna rip him in half. So,
but
he was the Star-Lord. Bullied by Letterman, in his day in high school. I think that was what that was all about.
He was the Star-Lord. You're right, though. He was the Star-Lord of Infinity War, where if he'd have just stuck to the plan, Star-Lord.
Well, he didn't know the plan. In his defense,
I agree. But he was, it's like, oh, if you just realize what they're doing, and wasn't, didn't go Looney Tunes. So,
I don't know about. See, here's the thing about that stuff. I don't know if anything Lucas said would have explained to him why the girl had no eyes, and was just, like, I don't, like, there are certain circumstances in films and TV is like, there's no way you could really.
No, I agree.
You could bring anybody up to speed on that,
right?
In time to be, for them not to, quote unquote, excuse the expression, for them not to shit the bed for everybody.
Right.
There's really no way. I mean, if they were there and she wasn't possessed yet, they might have been able to talk him into some.
Well, no, actually, you know what? I feel like her being possessed, if maybe the better strategy, and this is not like criticizing the show. So I want to separate what I'm about to say. Is I'm actually saying, like, what if this really happened in real life? What would have been, what would scenario A be? Scenario A is he ends up getting ripped in half because he tried to convince him that there was no cult. But meanwhile, the better solution. So this is a life lesson, really. So if this ever happens, now we know what to do. You have a crazed psychopath after you who doesn't have the inside knowledge, but thinks something. He should have fed him that information and said, yes, we were part of a cult, but now we're trying to stop it. And this is the only way. And look, she's possessed. So clearly it's working. We have to go through with this.
I'm pretty sure, I'm certain the argument against that, even though that's sound advice, I think you should take that advice, kids. But the argument against that would be like, Lucas was just not in the headspace to.
Oh, no, no, again, I'm not talking about
to be
criticizing the show.
counterintuitive, you know.
I'm saying you and me right now. You're in. I'm Lucas, and you're Max, and your glasses are possessed, and a crazed psychopath coming after us. We're trying to close this. We're trying to kill this big bad. I'm saying what I would have to do then to convince him is to say, yes, we were in a cult and we did unleash an evil spirit, and now Hassan is possessed. And so now, in order to save him and our whole town, we're trying to stop it. This is the only way.
And then he would have been like, I know how to stop it, and he would have shot Max. So, you know, especially if you say something like the whole town is in jeopardy, you know, then he would have been like, oh, I know how to fix this, because that's pretty much what his, you know, he was the hammer, and all my problems look like nails type of character, you know. So I got this gun. I know how to handle this particular situation. I don't know. I've never been in that situation, thankfully.
I don't think we.
So I can't pull from my own experience to you know, to illuminate the situation.
I would love it if we don't end up in that situation. But if we do,
I would love it if we didn't.
If we do,
I'm not an adventurous type. I don't want to be dealing with dark wizards from the underground, or you know, I really don't. I could do without that in my entire life.
True.
My whole life.
True.
I could go without.
All right. Last bit of feedback, so that we can get to our interview with Julia Klaus. It was really long. Those last 2 episodes were unnecessarily long. I know I said that before. And again, I'm going to sit there and preface it by saying, though, I actually think Stranger Things 4 was excellent. It was excellent TV. So I'm not like, oh, it ruined the whole season for me. But I would sit there and say, next time, it doesn't need to be 2.5 hours. Literally could have been 2 hours. A lot of these episodes, I could just skip ahead. I just skipped ahead and I didn't miss anything, like literally nothing. Nor did I miss. I know in some cases you're trying to pace things so that, you know, when something happens, it's like, you know, it's a Erin's watching it right now. She's catching up behind the scenes. But how could she do 2 things at once? I don't know.
She's an engineer extraordinaire.
I will say this: the Duffer Brothers, because it's successful and everything is successful, they can, from a Netflix standpoint, can do no wrong. But when I read articles that say, you know, it crossed the 1,000,000th hour mark, it's like, well, yeah, that thing was 2.5 hours. It didn't need to be 2.5 hours. It was
across the 1,000,000,000 hour mark. Then yeah, it did.
It was,
of course, they're sitting there like everything we did is justified now because we did it.
That's true.
So
that's true. Well, you get through it, but I mean,
the critics.
Does it count? Does it count when I skip ahead?
You know, I disagree with this, right? Because you know I've been criticizing the scant content that we've been getting since the start. So no, heck no. I will tentatively agree with you on this, on the fact that I think the pacing in those episodes, you could feel the pacing in the last episode, that 2.5 hour episode, and so it seemed like it was being stretched a little bit.
Overindulgent.
So I think if you cut the pacing differently, I wouldn't have minded the 2.5. I didn't mind the 2.5 hours at all, period.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just cut the pacing, or hasten the pacing a little bit, you know, there are certain things where you look at it and you're like, especially like the last season of Game of Thrones, there were a bunch of editing things where I am not an editor. I've never been a film editor. I've never learned how to edit film, you know. So look, take it with a grain of salt. But I've seen things and I'm like, why did they do that? Like, you could have easily done this and you would have conveyed the same amount of information, yet you wouldn't have added this extra beat that people will give people cause to question you. You know, like very famously, that episode where they went beyond the wall to get a white, right? And then they expect us to believe that Gendry ran all the way back to the wall, and then they sent a raven all the way to Daenerys, and then she flew a dragon all the way in, and then used her GPS to find them so that she could save them. I'm like, why wouldn't you just said that she's at the boats and she's going to wait at the boats? And then why would you show them wandering all this while to imply the distance?
Right.
And so that when Gendry ran back, we would have no idea how far he had to run.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have already known she's at the wall and she can fly.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, but for some reason they cut it the way they cut it, and it gave you cause to question it.
Yes.
There are ways that you can cut things where it's like you can have the same information there, you can have all the same beats, but I don't have to question you.
Correct.
And I don't know why some people make the decisions that they do. But I'm not an editor, like I said. So, I mean, there may be perfectly logical reasons why they have to do those things. I have no idea.
We'll talk more about Stranger Things 4, I'm sure, in future Rogue reactions. There's lots of stuff. And
yes,
a lot of really great TV in general, and we'll definitely talk about that further in future episodes. But coming up next, we've got actress Julia Klaus. Check her out. This is a great interview. She was real delight to have, and she actually has a really, really amazing resume on film. So Julia Klaus coming up next. Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave podcast.